Hello and welcome to this space of peace and reflection. If you're here, chances are you're seeking a little more calm, clarity, or perhaps just a break from the noise of everyday life. I'm so glad you've joined me today on the Mindful Zone. Together we're going to explore an idea that might sound strange at first, but trust me, it has the potential to transform how you experience life. That idea is this: acting as if nothing matters. Now, before you think I'm suggesting indifference or apathy, let me clarify. Acting as if nothing matters doesn't mean giving up or not caring about anything. Far from it. This philosophy comes from ancient wisdom traditions like Buddhism, meditation practices, and mindfulness teachings. It's about finding freedom, not by trying harder, but by letting go. Letting go of unnecessary burdens, unrealistic expectations, and the constant pressure to control every detail of our lives. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to release all those things that weigh you down, the worry about what others think of you, the fear of failure, the endless pursuit of perfection. What if, instead of carrying those heavy loads, you could simply breathe easier? That's what we're diving into today, a way to live with less stress, more joy, and a deeper sense of presence. This mindset isn't about rejecting ambition or love or passion. It's about shifting your perspective. It's about understanding that while some things matter deeply, like kindness, connection, and purpose, many other things we obsess over don't really define us. They're fleeting distractions that pull us away from the beauty of the present moment. And when we learn to act as if nothing truly matters, paradoxically, everything becomes richer. Today's video is designed for everyone, whether you're completely new to these concepts or you've been practicing mindfulness for years. We'll cover practical tools and insights inspired by Buddhism, meditation, and mindfulness, all with the goal of helping you reduce stress and improve your well-being. You don't need any special skills or equipment, just an open mind and a willingness to try something different. So grab a cozy seat, maybe pour yourself a cup of tea, and settle in. Over the next hour, we'll take a deep dive into 10 chapters that will guide you step by step toward embracing this liberating mindset. By the end, my hope is that you'll walk away feeling lighter, more grounded, and ready to approach life with a renewed sense of ease. Let's begin. Chapter 1: The Paradox of Nothing Matters. The phrase, "nothing matters," might initially strike you as unsettling or even counterintuitive. After everything we've been taught about striving for success, achieving goals, and making meaningful contributions, how can we possibly reconcile ourselves with the idea that nothing truly matters? At first glance, it might seem like an invitation to indifference or apathy. But stick with me here, because there's profound wisdom hidden within this seemingly contradictory statement. Let's start by unpacking what we mean when we say nothing matters. To clarify, this isn't about dismissing the importance of love, kindness, or purpose. Far from it. Instead, it's about recognizing that much of what causes us stress, anxiety, and suffering stems from our attachment to outcomes, expectations, and external validation. When we let go of these attachments, even temporarily, we open ourselves up to a deeper sense of freedom and peace. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed. Maybe it was during a chaotic day at work, or perhaps it was while navigating a difficult relationship. What were you holding on to so tightly? Was it the need to be perfect, the fear of being judged, or maybe it was the pressure to achieve a specific result? These kinds of mental burdens are heavy, aren't they? They pull us out of the present moment and trap us in cycles of worry and frustration. In Buddhism, this concept aligns closely with the teaching of impermanence, the understanding that everything changes, nothing stays the same forever, not our emotions, not our relationships, not even the physical world around us. When we fully grasp this truth, it shifts how we relate to life. Instead of clinging desperately to outcomes or resisting change, we learn to flow with it. Consider a personal example. Have you ever poured your heart into a project, only to have it fail or receive criticism? Maybe you worked tirelessly on a presentation at work, hoping for praise, but instead faced disappointment. In moments like these, it's easy to feel defeated, but what if you approached the situation differently? What if you reminded yourself that the outcome wasn't a reflection of your worth, that it was simply part of the ebb and flow of life? Acting as if nothing matters allows us to detach from these rigid attachments to specific results. It doesn't mean we stop putting effort into our work or relationships. It means we free ourselves from the need for external validation. We create space to enjoy the process rather than fixating solely on the destination. Another way to look at this is through the lens of modern psychology. Research shows that excessive attachment to goals or identities can lead to increased anxiety and burnout. When we tie our self-worth too tightly to achievements, we set ourselves up for disappointment whenever things don't go as planned. On the other hand, adopting a mindset of non-attachment helps us build resilience. It enables us to adapt more easily to setbacks and maintain a positive outlook. Let's bring this idea down to earth with a simple exercise. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine someone cutting you off in traffic. Your instinctive reaction might be anger or frustration. Now, picture yourself responding differently. Instead of taking it personally, you acknowledge the situation without judgment. Perhaps the driver was having a bad day, or maybe they didn't see you. Either way, their action has no bearing on who you are or the quality of your life. By choosing not to attach significance to the incident, you preserve your inner peace. Of course, embracing the notion that nothing matters isn't always easy. Our culture conditions us to value productivity, achievement, and material success above almost everything else. Breaking free from those ingrained patterns takes practice, but as we move through the rest of this video, we'll explore concrete strategies to help you cultivate this mindset. From mindfulness techniques to meditative practices, each tool will empower you to live with greater freedom and authenticity. Now let's delve deeper into why this paradox works and why it's so transformative. Picture your mind as a glass of water. When you shake it vigorously, representing stress, worry, and attachment, the water becomes cloudy and unsettled. But when you set it down and allow it to rest, the sediment slowly settles, leaving the water clear and calm. This is what happens when we adopt the mindset that nothing matters. We stop shaking the glass, we let go of the need to control every detail, and in doing so, we allow clarity to emerge. This clarity has practical benefits too. For instance, consider decision-making. How often do we agonize over choices, paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong one? When we act as if nothing matters, decisions become simpler. We weigh options based on what feels right in the moment, rather than obsessing over hypothetical future consequences. This doesn't mean we act recklessly. It means we trust ourselves to handle whatever comes next. Another benefit is improved relationships. When we stop attaching so much importance to how others perceive us, we show up more authentically. We listen more deeply, speak more honestly, and connect more meaningfully. Ironically, by caring less about external approval, we often foster stronger bonds with those around us. Finally, acting as if nothing matters can profoundly impact our emotional well-being. Without the constant pressure to get it right, we experience less anxiety and more contentment. We begin to notice the small joys in everyday life, the warmth of sunlight on our skin, the sound of birds chirping, the comfort of a shared laugh. These moments may seem insignificant, but they add up to a life filled with richness and fulfillment. To illustrate this point, let me share a story. A few years ago, I found myself caught in a whirlwind of stress. I was juggling multiple responsibilities, trying to meet deadlines and constantly worrying about whether I was doing enough. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day, I decided to take a walk outside. As I strolled through my neighborhood, I noticed a tree shedding its leaves. Each leaf drifted gently to the ground, carried effortlessly by the breeze. Watching this natural process unfold, I realized something. Just like those leaves, many of my worries would eventually fall away on their own. I didn't need to hold on to them so tightly. That realization was a turning point for me. It didn't solve all my problems overnight, but it planted a seed, a reminder that much of what I fretted over wasn't worth the energy. Over time, I began to practice letting go more consistently, and guess what? Life didn't fall apart. In fact, it became richer, lighter, and more enjoyable. For now, take a deep breath and sit with this thought. What would it feel like to release the weight of needing everything to turn out perfectly? To trust that no matter what happens, you'll still be okay.
This is the essence of acting as if nothing matters, and it's the foundation upon which we'll build everything else. As we continue exploring this philosophy, keep in mind that it's not about rejecting ambition or passion. It's about finding balance. It's about learning to care deeply without becoming consumed by attachment. Because ultimately the goal isn't to detach completely. It's to engage fully while remaining unshaken by life's inevitable storms. Chapter 2: The Roots of Detachment in Buddhism. One of the most profound teachings in Buddhism is non-attachment, a concept that lies at the heart of spiritual liberation. Non-attachment doesn't mean rejecting love, ambition, or joy. Rather, it's about cultivating a mindset where we're not enslaved by our desires, fears, or expectations. It's a practice of letting go, not out of indifference, but out of wisdom. And when we understand its roots, we begin to see how transformative this principle can be for our daily lives. To truly grasp non-attachment, let's start with a story, one that forms the foundation of Buddhist philosophy. Over 2,500 years ago, a young prince named Siddhartha Gautama lived a life of luxury, sheltered from the harsh realities of the world. Yet despite his wealth and privilege, he felt an unshakable sense of dissatisfaction. He wondered why suffering existed and whether there was a way to transcend it. Determined to find answers, he left his palace, renounced worldly possessions, and embarked on a journey of self-discovery. After years of rigorous ascetic practices and deep meditation, Siddhartha finally attained enlightenment while sitting beneath the Bodhi tree. What he realized during those moments of awakening became the Four Noble Truths, which form the cornerstone of Buddhism. Among these truths is the idea that attachment, or clinging, is the root cause of suffering. When we cling to impermanent things, whether they're material objects, relationships, emotions, or even ideas, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Why? Because everything changes. Nothing lasts forever. This teaching might sound abstract, so let's bring it into the realm of everyday experience. Imagine you've just purchased a brand new car. It's sleek, shiny, and exactly what you've always wanted. For weeks you feel a rush of pride every time you drive it. But then one day someone accidentally scratches the door. Suddenly your joy turns to frustration. You might even feel angry or resentful. What happened here? The car itself didn't change. It remained the same vehicle it was before. What changed was your attachment to its perfection. Your happiness became conditional upon the car staying flawless. Now, imagine approaching the same situation differently. Instead of viewing the scratch as a personal affront, you accept it as part of the natural wear and tear of owning a car. You remind yourself that no object will ever remain pristine indefinitely. By releasing your attachment to the car's appearance, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. This doesn't mean you don't care about your belongings, it means you relate to them differently. The same principle applies to relationships. Think about a close friendship or romantic partnership. How often do conflicts arise because we expect others to behave in a certain way? We attach our happiness to their actions, words, or decisions. When they inevitably fall short of our expectations, we feel hurt or betrayed. But what if, instead of clinging to specific outcomes, we approached relationships with openness and flexibility? What if we appreciated people for who they are, rather than who we want them to be? Non-attachment also extends to our sense of identity. So much of our stress comes from identifying too strongly with roles, titles, or achievements. Consider the example of losing a job. If your entire self-worth is tied to your career, unemployment can feel devastating. But if you view yourself beyond labels as someone capable of growth, learning, and reinvention, the same event becomes an opportunity for transformation. Non-attachment allows us to navigate life's uncertainties with grace and resilience. At this point, you might be wondering, how do I actually practice non-attachment? Isn't it easier said than done? The truth is, yes, it takes effort, but it's entirely possible. One of the first steps is becoming aware of your attachments. Take a moment to reflect on areas of your life where you feel particularly invested. Are you attached to a particular outcome, a relationship, a belief about yourself? Simply noticing these patterns is a powerful starting point. Next, try shifting your perspective. Instead of seeing non-attachment as a loss, frame it as freedom. When you let go of rigid expectations, you create space for spontaneity, creativity, and connection. You allow life to unfold naturally without forcing it into a predetermined mold. Meditation plays a crucial role in cultivating non-attachment. Through regular practice, we learn to observe our thoughts and emotions without getting caught up in them. Imagine sitting quietly and watching clouds drift across the sky. You notice each cloud as it appears, lingers, and eventually dissipates. Similarly, in meditation, we watch our thoughts come and go, recognizing that they're temporary phenomena. This awareness helps us detach from the stories we tell ourselves, the narratives that fuel anxiety, anger, or sadness. Another helpful tool is mindfulness. Mindfulness involves paying attention to the present moment without judgment. When we focus on what's happening right now, we stop dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. We break free from the grip of attachment, which often stems from ruminating over what's already gone or fixating on what might happen next. Let me share a personal example. A few years ago, I found myself deeply attached to the idea of success. I had a clear vision of what success looked like: a high-paying job, recognition from peers, and a perfect work-life balance. But no matter how hard I worked, I never seemed to reach that ideal. The harder I pushed, the more frustrated I became. Eventually, I hit a breaking point. During this period, I turned to mindfulness and meditation. Slowly, I began to notice how my attachment to success was driving my unhappiness. I wasn't pursuing goals out of genuine passion. I was chasing external validation. Once I recognized this pattern, I started letting go. I stopped tying my worth to achievements and instead focused on enjoying the process of growth. Ironically, this shift in mindset led to greater fulfillment. Ironically, I achieved many of the things I once thought were so important, but now, with a healthier attitude toward them. Non-attachment isn't about giving up or becoming passive. It's about embracing life fully while remaining unshaken by its inevitable ups and downs. It's about finding balance between caring deeply and holding lightly. And it's about trusting that no matter what happens, you have the inner resources to adapt and thrive. As we move forward, keep in mind that non-attachment is a lifelong practice. It's not something you master overnight. There will be days when old habits resurface, and that's okay. The key is to approach yourself with compassion and patience. Every step you take toward letting go brings you closer to freedom. So, as you reflect on this chapter, ask yourself, where am I holding on too tightly? What would it feel like to loosen my grip, even just a little? Remember, non-attachment isn't about losing what matters. It's about creating space for what truly enriches your life. Chapter 3. What is mindfulness really? Mindfulness. It's a word you've probably heard countless times, whether in conversations about mental health, self-help books, or wellness trends. But what does mindfulness really mean? And how can it help us live with greater ease and clarity in our daily lives? Today we're going to explore this powerful practice, not as a buzzword or abstract concept, but as a tangible tool for transformation. At its core, mindfulness is simply paying attention to the present moment without judgment. That might sound deceptively simple, but when you really think about it, How often are we truly present? Most of the time our minds are elsewhere. We're replaying past events, worrying about the future, or lost in daydreams. Even when we're doing something as ordinary as eating a meal, we're often distracted, scrolling through our phones, watching TV, or planning what's next. Mindfulness invites us to slow down and tune in. It asks us to notice the sensations of each breath, the taste of each bite, the rhythm of each step. When we do this consistently, something remarkable happens. We begin to break free from autopilot mode. We start living more fully in the here and now, rather than being swept away by the currents of thought and emotion. But let's dig deeper. Why is mindfulness so transformative? To answer that question, we need to understand how our minds typically operate. Have you ever noticed how your thoughts seem to have a life of their own? They pop up uninvited, pulling you into stories about the past or fantasies about the future. Some of these thoughts are helpful. They remind us of tasks we need to complete or inspire creative ideas. But many others are repetitive, unproductive, and even harmful. They keep us stuck in cycles of worry, regret, or self-criticism. Mindfulness interrupts this cycle. By training ourselves to observe our thoughts and feelings as they arise, we create distance between ourselves and them. We realize that just because a thought exists doesn't mean it's true, or that we have to act on it. For example, imagine you're feeling anxious before an important meeting. Instead of spiraling into panic, mindfulness allows you to pause and acknowledge the anxiety without identifying with it. You might say to yourself, I'm noticing that I feel nervous right now. This simple act of observation diffuses the intensity of the emotion, giving you space to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Another key aspect of mindfulness is its emphasis on non-judgment. Often when we experience difficult emotions like anger, sadness, or frustration, our first instinct is to judge ourselves harshly. We label these feelings as bad or wrong, which only amplifies our suffering. Mindfulness teaches us to meet all experiences with kindness and curiosity. Whether you're feeling joy or sorrow, mindfulness encourages you to welcome it, all while remembering that emotions, like everything else, are impermanent. Let's bring this idea to life with a practical exercise. Find a comfortable position, whether sitting or lying down, and close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. Take a few deep breaths, inhaling slowly through your nose and exhaling gently through your mouth. Now, shift your attention to the sensation of your breath, moving in and out of your body. Notice the coolness of the air as it enters your nostrils, the rise and fall of your chest, the subtle expansion and contraction of your abdomen. If your mind wanders, and it will, that's perfectly okay. Gently guide your focus back to your breath without criticizing yourself. This simple practice of focusing on your breath is one of the most foundational forms of mindfulness meditation. It trains your mind to stay anchored in the present moment, even amidst distractions. Over time, this skill spills over into other areas of your life. You'll find it easier to concentrate, communicate more effectively, and navigate challenges with greater calm and clarity. Now, let's talk about why mindfulness matters beyond personal well-being. In today's fast-paced world, we're constantly bombarded with stimuli, from social media notifications to endless to-do lists. Our brains are wired to prioritize survival, which means they're highly attuned to threats and rewards. While this served our ancestors well in navigating physical dangers, it leaves us vulnerable to modern stressors. Every email ping, every news headline, every comparison on Instagram triggers a cascade of reactions in our nervous system. Without tools to manage these inputs, we risk burnout, anxiety, and disconnection from ourselves and others. Mindfulness offers a way out of this overwhelm. By grounding ourselves in the present moment, we reduce the noise and reclaim agency over our attention. We choose where to direct our focus, rather than letting external forces dictate our state of mind. This shift has profound implications not only for individual happiness but also for collective harmony. Studies show that mindfulness practices increase empathy, compassion, and pro-social behavior. When we're less consumed by our own worries, we become more available to support those around us. To illustrate this point, consider the impact of mindful listening. How often do we engage in conversations while half listening, preoccupied with formulating our response or thinking about something else entirely? Mindful listening flips this dynamic. It involves giving someone your full presence, making eye contact, nodding occasionally, and resisting the urge to interrupt. When you listen mindfully, you not only deepen your connection with the other person, but also foster mutual understanding and trust. Another area where mindfulness shines is in managing pain and discomfort. Chronic pain sufferers often report that mindfulness techniques help them cope more effectively. Rather than fighting against the sensation or trying to escape it, they learn to observe it with curiosity and acceptance. Paradoxically, this approach reduces the emotional suffering associated with pain, making it more bearable. Of course, practicing mindfulness isn't always easy. Our minds are naturally restless, and sitting still can feel uncomfortable at first. But like any skill, mindfulness improves with consistent effort. Start small, just 5 minutes a day, and gradually increase the duration as you build confidence. Experiment with different techniques such as body scans, mindful walking, or loving-kindness meditations to discover what resonates with you. Let me share a story that highlights the power of mindfulness in action. A friend of mine once struggled with insomnia. No matter how tired she was, her racing thoughts kept her awake night after night. Frustrated and exhausted, she decided to try mindfulness as a last resort. Each evening, she would lie in bed and systematically bring her attention to different parts of her body, starting with her toes and working her way up to her head. But she didn't force herself to sleep. Instead, she focused on relaxing each muscle group and observing her breath. Over time, her insomnia improved dramatically, not because she willed herself to sleep, but because she stopped resisting the process. Stories like this remind us that mindfulness isn't magic. It's a practice grounded in science and centuries of wisdom. Research shows that regular mindfulness meditation changes the structure and function of the brain, enhancing areas associated with focus, emotional regulation, and resilience. It lowers cortisol levels, boosts immune function, and even slows aging at the cellular level. These benefits aren't reserved for monks or gurus. They're accessible to anyone willing to commit to the journey. As we move forward, I encourage you to experiment with mindfulness in your own life. Try incorporating short moments of awareness throughout your day. Pay attention to the sensation of water on your hands while washing dishes. Savor the aroma of your morning coffee. Feel the ground beneath your feet as you walk. These tiny acts of presence add up, creating a ripple effect that transforms how you experience the world. Ultimately, mindfulness is about coming home to yourself. It's about recognizing that peace isn't found in external achievements or possessions. It's already within you, waiting to be uncovered. By embracing the present moment with openness and curiosity, you cultivate a profound sense of belonging, not just to the world, but to yourself. Chapter 4. Meditation as a tool for inner peace. Meditation is often misunderstood. For many people, the word conjures images of monks secluded in mountaintop monasteries or hours spent in complete silence. While these associations are valid, they can also feel intimidating, especially if you're new to the practice. But here's the truth. Meditation isn't reserved for spiritual adepts or those with endless free time. It's a practical, accessible tool that anyone can use to cultivate inner peace, clarity, and resilience. And today we're going to explore how meditation works, why it's so powerful, and how you can integrate it into your daily life, even if you only have 5 minutes a day. Let's start by addressing a common misconception. Meditation isn't about stopping your thoughts or achieving some mystical state of enlightenment. If anything, meditation teaches us to embrace the reality of our minds, the constant flow of thoughts, emotions, and sensations without getting swept away by them. Think of it like watching a river. You don't need to stop the water from flowing, you simply sit on the bank and observe it. In the same way, meditation allows us to witness our mental activity without attaching to it or judging it. This ability to step back from our thoughts is transformative. Why? Because so much of our stress, anxiety, and suffering stems from identification with our inner chatter. We believe every thought that crosses our mind, treating it as fact rather than fiction. Meditation helps us recognize that thoughts are just thoughts. They're not inherently true and they don't define us. This realization creates space between stimulus and response, empowering us to choose how we react instead of being driven by instinctive impulses. Now let's talk about the science behind meditation. Over the past few decades, researchers have conducted countless studies exploring its effects on the brain and body. What they've discovered is remarkable. Regular meditation has been shown to increase grey matter density in regions associated with memory, learning, and emotional regulation. It strengthens the prefrontal cortex, which governs decision-making and impulse control, while shrinking the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for fear and stress responses. These structural changes translate into tangible benefits: improved focus, reduced anxiety, enhanced creativity, and even better sleep. But perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from personal stories. People from all walks of life, students, parents, entrepreneurs, healthcare workers, have reported profound shifts after incorporating meditation into their routines. They describe feeling calmer, more centered, and better equipped to handle life's challenges. Some credit meditation with helping them overcome chronic pain, addiction, or depression. Others say it's deepened their relationships, boosted their productivity, or reignited their sense of purpose. So, how do you actually meditate? There are countless techniques, but one of the simplest and most effective methods is mindfulness meditation. Here's how it works. Find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably, with your back straight but relaxed, and close your eyes if you prefer. Bring your attention to your breath, noticing the sensation of air entering and leaving your nostrils. Don't try to change your breathing, just let it happen naturally. When your mind inevitably wanders, and it will, gently guide your focus back to your breath without judgment. That's it. Sounds easy, right? Well, yes and no. While the instructions are straightforward, the practice itself requires patience and persistence. At first, you might find it frustrating that your mind keeps drifting off. You might feel restless, bored, or skeptical about whether you're doing it right. These reactions are completely normal. Remember, meditation isn't about perfection. It's about showing up consistently no matter what arises. Over time, you'll notice subtle shifts. Your attention span will lengthen. You'll become more aware of your thought patterns, and you'll develop a greater capacity to stay present, both during meditation and in everyday situations. Another popular form of meditation is loving-kindness meditation, also known as metta. This practice involves cultivating feelings of compassion and goodwill toward yourself and others. To try it, begin by silently repeating phrases like, "May I be happy, may I be healthy, may I live with ease." Once you've directed these wishes inward, expand your circle of care to include loved ones, acquaintances, strangers, and even people you find challenging. Loving kindness meditation fosters empathy, reduces negative emotions, and strengthens social connections. It's especially helpful if you're feeling isolated or overwhelmed by conflict. For those who struggle with traditional seated meditation, there are alternative approaches worth exploring. Walking meditation, for instance, combines mindfulness with gentle movement. As you stroll slowly and deliberately, pay attention to the sensations in your feet, legs, and body. Notice the rhythm of each step, the texture of the ground beneath you, and the sights and sounds around you. Walking meditation is particularly beneficial if you're prone to restlessness or if you want to bring mindfulness into your daily activities. Body scan meditation is another excellent option, especially for managing stress or physical tension. Lie down in a comfortable position and systematically direct your awareness to different parts of your body, starting with your toes and working your way up to the top of your head. Notice any areas of tightness, discomfort, or relaxation without trying to change them. Simply observe. Body scans promote deep relaxation, improve body awareness, and help release stored tension. Regardless of which technique you choose, consistency is key. Just as lifting weights builds muscle over time, regular meditation strengthens your mental muscles. Even short sessions can yield significant results. A study published in the journal Psychiatry Research found that participants who meditated for just 13 minutes a day experienced noticeable improvements in attention, mood, and memory after 8 weeks. Imagine what could happen if you made meditation a non-negotiable part of your routine. Let me share a story that illustrates the power of commitment. Several years ago, I went through a particularly difficult phase in my life. Work was overwhelming, relationships were strained, and I felt perpetually anxious. Desperate for relief, I decided to give meditation a try. At first, I struggled. My mind raced uncontrollably, and I doubted whether I'd ever experience the benefits everyone raved about. But I kept showing up, 5 minutes a day, then 10, then 15. Slowly but surely, I began to notice changes. I felt less reactive, more grounded, and strangely hopeful, even amidst chaos. Looking back, I realized that meditation didn't fix my problems, but it gave me the tools to face them with courage and clarity. Of course, integrating meditation into a busy schedule can be challenging. Life gets hectic, and prioritizing self-care often feels selfish or impractical. But consider this: when you neglect your well-being, you risk burning out, which ultimately affects your ability to show up for others. Meditation isn't indulgent, it's essential. Treat it like brushing your teeth or eating breakfast, something you do because it supports your overall health and happiness. If carving out dedicated time feels impossible, look for opportunities to weave mindfulness into your existing habits. Meditate while waiting for your coffee to brew, during your commute, or before bed. Use reminders like sticky notes or phone alarms to prompt brief moments of presence throughout the day. Every little bit counts. Finally, remember that meditation is a journey, not a destination. There's no end point where you suddenly arrive at perfect peace or enlightenment. Instead, it's a process of continual growth and discovery. Some days will feel magical, others will feel mundane or frustrating. That's okay. The beauty of meditation lies in its simplicity and accessibility. It meets you exactly where you are, offering solace and strength, regardless of your circumstances. As we wrap up this chapter, I invite you to reflect on one question. What would it feel like to carve out a small corner of stillness in your day, to pause, breathe, and reconnect with yourself amidst the whirlwind of life? Meditation isn't about escaping reality. It's about embracing it fully, moment by moment. And when you do, you unlock a reservoir of peace that's always available, no matter what's happening around you. Chapter 5. Letting Go of Perfectionism. Perfectionism is a silent thief. It sneaks into our lives disguised as ambition or high standards, and convinces us that we're not good enough unless everything, and I mean everything, is flawless. But here's the hard truth: perfection doesn't exist. It's an illusion, a mirage that keeps us chasing something unattainable while robbing us of joy, creativity, and peace. Today we're going to explore why letting go of perfectionism is essential for living authentically, and how embracing imperfection can actually make you stronger, happier, and more fulfilled. Let's start with a question. When did perfectionism first take root in your life? For many of us, it begins early, in school, sports, or family dynamics. We're praised for getting straight A's, excelling at piano recitals, or keeping our room spotless. These achievements feel rewarding at first, but over time, they create a subtle pressure to always perform, to never fail, to be the best. Before we know it, this mindset seeps into every area of our lives, from work and relationships to hobbies and self-care. The problem with perfectionism isn't just that it sets unrealistic expectations, it also distorts how we view ourselves and others. Perfectionists tend to equate their worth with their accomplishments. If they succeed, they feel validated, but only temporarily. If they fall short, they spiral into self-criticism, convinced they've failed not just at a task but as a person. This relentless cycle of striving and self-judgment leaves little room for rest, play, or simply being human. To understand why perfectionism is so damaging, let's examine its psychological roots. At its core, perfectionism stems from fear of failure, rejection, or judgment. It's a defense mechanism designed to protect us from vulnerability. By aiming for perfection, we hope to shield ourselves from criticism or disappointment. But paradoxically, this strategy backfires. The harder we try to avoid mistakes, the more paralyzed we become. Fear of imperfection stifles creativity, discourages risk-taking, and fuels procrastination. Consider the example of writing. Many aspiring writers struggle to put pen to paper because they're terrified their words won't measure up. They envision a masterpiece before typing a single sentence. And when reality inevitably falls short of their ideal, they abandon the project altogether. But what if instead of waiting for perfection, they allowed themselves to write badly? What if they gave themselves permission to experiment, stumble, and revise along the way? Often the roughest drafts lead to the most profound insights. This principle applies to all areas of life. Whether you're cooking a meal, giving a presentation, or raising children, perfectionism narrows your perspective. It blinds you to the beauty of imperfection, the unique quirks, flaws, and surprises that make experiences rich and meaningful. Instead of enjoying the process, you fixate on the outcome, missing opportunities for growth and connection. One powerful antidote to perfectionism is the Japanese aesthetic of wabi-sabi. Wabi-sabi celebrates impermanence, imperfection, and incompleteness. It finds beauty in cracked pottery, weathered wood, and asymmetrical designs. Through wabi-sabi, we learn to appreciate the inherent value of things as they are, not as we wish them to be. Imagine applying this philosophy to your own life. What would it look like to embrace your scars, blemishes, and missteps as part of your story? Another helpful framework comes from Carol Dweck's research on growth versus fixed mindsets. People with a fixed mindset believe their abilities are static. They either have talent or they don't. As a result, they avoid challenges and view failures as evidence of inadequacy. In contrast, those with a growth mindset see effort as a path to mastery. They understand that skills develop through practice and persistence. By adopting a growth mindset, you shift your focus from avoiding mistakes to learning from them. So, how do you begin letting go of perfectionism? Start by challenging your inner critic, the voice that tells you you're not smart enough, talented enough, or worthy enough. Notice when it shows up and what it says. Is it true or is it exaggerating? Once you identify these patterns, you can begin reframing them. For instance, instead of thinking, I messed up, I'm such a failure, try saying, I made a mistake, and that's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. What can I learn from this? Next, set realistic goals. Perfectionists often aim impossibly high, setting themselves up for disappointment. Break tasks into smaller, manageable steps, and celebrate progress along the way. Remember, done is better than perfect. Completing something, even imperfectly, is far more valuable than abandoning it out of fear. Mindfulness also plays a crucial role in overcoming perfectionism. By staying present, you break free from the endless loop of comparison and critique. You stop measuring yourself against others or some idealized version of success. Instead, you focus on the task at hand, savoring each moment without worrying about the result. Let me share a personal story that illustrates this transformation. A few years ago, I became obsessed with creating the perfect morning routine. I read countless articles, watched videos, and meticulously planned my schedule down to the minute. Wake up at 6 a.m., meditate for 20 minutes, journal for 15, exercise for 30, eat a nutrient-packed breakfast, and so on. At first, I felt productive and accomplished, but soon The routine started controlling me. If I overslept or skipped a step, I felt like I'd ruined my entire day. Eventually, I realized I was missing the point. The purpose of a morning routine wasn't to achieve perfection, it was to nurture myself, to set a positive tone for the hours ahead. So I let go of the rigid structure and embraced flexibility. Some mornings I meditated for 5 minutes instead of 20. Other days I skipped journaling altogether. And guess what? My days didn't collapse. In fact, I felt lighter, freer, and more aligned with my intentions. Stories like mine remind us that letting go of perfectionism isn't about lowering your standards. It's about redefining what success means to you. It's about valuing effort over outcomes, authenticity over appearances, and progress over perfection. Now, let's talk about the ripple effects of embracing imperfection. When you release the need to be flawless, you inspire others to do the same. Think about leaders who admit their vulnerabilities, artists who share unfinished work, or friends who apologize for their mistakes. Their honesty fosters trust, deepens connections, and creates space for mutual growth. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength. In creative fields, imperfection often sparks innovation. Take Picasso's abstract paintings, for example. His bold, distorted forms challenged traditional notions of beauty and paved the way for modern art. Similarly, musicians like Bob Dylan and Nina Simone embraced raw emotion over technical precision, producing timeless masterpieces that resonate deeply with listeners. Imperfection invites experimentation, risk-taking, and originality, all qualities that drive artistic expression. Even in highly structured environments such as science or engineering, imperfection has its place. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His willingness to iterate and adapt ultimately led to groundbreaking inventions. Without failure, there would be no discovery. As we move forward, I encourage you to reflect on where perfectionism shows up in your life. Are you holding yourself to impossible standards? Are you afraid to start something new because it might not turn out perfectly? Ask yourself, what would happen if I let go of the need to control every detail? What possibilities might open up if I embraced imperfection as part of the journey? Remember, life itself is imperfect. Seasons change, bodies age, plans unravel. Yet within this messiness lies extraordinary beauty. By accepting imperfection not just in the world around us but within ourselves, we tap into a deeper sense of peace and belonging. Chapter 6. Reducing stress through acceptance. Stress is an inevitable part of life, whether it's work deadlines, financial pressures, relationship challenges, or health concerns. We all face moments that push us to our limits. But what if I told you there's a way to reduce stress, not by eliminating its causes, but by changing how you relate to it? That's where acceptance comes in. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up or resigning yourself to hardship. It means acknowledging reality as it is, rather than fighting against it. And when practiced consistently, it can transform your relationship with stress, bringing greater calm, clarity, and resilience to your daily life. Let's begin by exploring why resistance often makes stress worse. Picture this. You're stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting. Your heart races, your jaw clenches, and your mind spirals into frustration. Why does this always happen to me? You think, this is ruining everything. Now imagine a different response. Instead of resisting the situation, you take a deep breath and say to yourself, "I'm stuck in traffic. There's nothing I can do about it right now." Suddenly, the tension begins to ease. You might even use the time to listen to music, reflect on your day, or simply breathe. By accepting the reality of the moment, you stop adding unnecessary layers of suffering to an already challenging situation. This principle applies to virtually every stressful scenario. When we resist what is, whether it's a delayed flight, a difficult conversation, or a personal setback, we amplify our discomfort. Resistance keeps us trapped in a cycle of negativity, making us feel powerless and overwhelmed. Acceptance, on the other hand, empowers us to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. It allows us to see clearly, act wisely, and conserve our energy for things we can actually influence. But let's be honest, acceptance isn't easy. Our instincts tell us to fight back, to demand fairness, to insist that life should align with our expectations. Yet life rarely cooperates. Things break, plans fall apart, people disappoint us. These are universal truths, yet they trigger some of our deepest fears, fears of uncertainty, inadequacy, or loss of control. Radical acceptance asks us to confront these fears head-on, not by denying them, but by embracing them as part of human experience. To better understand this concept, let's turn to a powerful teaching from Buddhism, the second noble truth. According to Buddhist philosophy, suffering arises from attachment and aversion, our desire for pleasant experiences and our rejection of unpleasant ones. When we cling to comfort or avoid discomfort, we create inner turmoil. By practicing equanimity, the ability to remain balanced in the face of pleasure and pain, we reduce suffering. Equanimity doesn't mean indifference. It means staying centered regardless of external circumstances. Modern psychology echoes this wisdom. Research shows that acceptance-based approaches, such as acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, are highly effective at reducing stress and improving mental health. ACT teaches individuals to acknowledge their thoughts and feelings without judgment, commit to values-driven actions, and cultivate psychological flexibility. This shift in mindset helps people navigate adversity with greater ease and purpose. So, how do you practice acceptance in real-life situations? Let's break it down step by step. First, identify the source of your stress. Is it something within your control, like organizing your schedule? Or is it beyond your control, like the weather or another person's behavior? Once you've clarified this distinction, focus your energy accordingly. For controllable factors, take proactive steps to address the issue. For uncontrollable factors, practice letting go. Second, name what you're feeling. Simply labeling your emotions, I'm feeling anxious, I'm frustrated, or I'm sad, can reduce their intensity. Studies show that putting words to emotions activates the brain's prefrontal cortex, which regulates emotional responses. This simple act of acknowledgement creates distance between you and your feelings, allowing you to observe them more objectively. Third, reframe your perspective. Instead of viewing stress as inherently bad, consider it a natural response to challenge, one that can motivate growth and adaptation. Psychologist Kelly McGonigal argues that stress itself isn't harmful. It's our belief about stress that determines its impact. When we view stress as a sign of strength, a signal that we care deeply about something, we harness its energy to fuel positive action. Now let's bring these principles to life with a practical example. Imagine you've received critical feedback at work. Initially, you might feel defensive or discouraged. Your instinct might be to dismiss the feedback or dwell on self-criticism. But what if you approached it differently? What if you accepted the feedback as information, not indictment? You might ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? By reframing criticism as an opportunity for improvement, you transform a potentially stressful experience into a catalyst for development. Another area where acceptance shines is in managing chronic conditions or illnesses. Living with ongoing pain or limitations can feel isolating and exhausting, yet many individuals find solace through mindfulness and acceptance practices. Rather than resisting their symptoms, they learn to coexist with them, focusing on what they can do rather than what they can't. This shift doesn't eliminate the condition, but it reduces the emotional burden, enabling them to live fuller, more meaningful lives. Let me share a story that highlights the transformative power of acceptance. A close friend of mine was diagnosed with a degenerative eye condition several years ago. At first, she was devastated. She worried about losing her independence, her career, and her sense of identity. Over time, however, she began practicing mindfulness and radical acceptance. She acknowledged her grief and fear without letting them consume her. She focused on adapting her lifestyle, learning Braille, using assistive technology, and connecting with others who shared her experience. Today she describes her journey not as a tragedy, but as a profound teacher. Acceptance didn't erase her challenges, but it gave her the tools to face them with courage and grace. Stories like this remind us that acceptance isn't passive, it's active. It requires effort, patience, and compassion. It challenges us to sit with discomfort, to lean into uncertainty, and to trust that we have the resilience to handle whatever comes our way. Of course, practicing acceptance doesn't mean condoning harmful behaviors or tolerating injustice. If someone mistreats you, it is important to set boundaries and advocate for yourself. Acceptance simply means acknowledging the reality of the situation while choosing how to respond. For instance, if a colleague consistently interrupts you during meetings, you might accept that their behavior reflects their communication style, not yours, and then decide whether to address it directly or seek support from a manager. In relationships, acceptance fosters deeper connection and understanding. Think about conflicts with loved ones. How often do arguments escalate because both parties refuse to budge? When we practice acceptance, we create space for dialogue and compromise. We acknowledge each other's perspectives without needing to win the argument. This openness paves the way for resolution and mutual respect. Finally, acceptance extends to ourselves. Many of us hold grudges against our own perceived shortcomings, replaying past mistakes or criticizing our choices. Self-acceptance invites us to treat ourselves with kindness and understanding. It reminds us that we're human, that we make errors, stumble and grow through trial and error. By forgiving ourselves, we release shame and guilt, freeing up energy for healing and progress. As we conclude this chapter, I invite you to reflect on one question. Where am I resisting reality, and how is it affecting my well-being? What would it feel like to soften that resistance even just a little? Acceptance isn't about surrendering to despair. It's about opening yourself to possibility. It's about trusting that no matter what happens, you have the strength to adapt and thrive. Chapter 7. Cultivating gratitude. Despite challenges, gratitude is often described as the antidote to suffering. It's a practice that shifts our focus from what's lacking to what's abundant, helping us find light even in the darkest times. But let's be honest, cultivating gratitude isn't always easy, especially when life feels heavy. When you're facing challenges like financial strain, health issues, relationship struggles, or simply the grind of daily responsibilities, it can seem impossible to muster appreciation for anything. Yet paradoxically, it's during these difficult moments that gratitude has the most potential to transform your perspective and your life. Today we're going to explore why gratitude matters, how it works, and how you can cultivate it authentically even amidst adversity. Let's start with a simple truth. Gratitude doesn't deny hardship. It doesn't ask you to ignore pain, gloss over injustice, or pretend everything is fine when it's not. Instead, gratitude invites you to notice the goodness that still exists alongside difficulty. It reminds you that life is complex, that joy and sorrow often coexist, and that acknowledging one doesn't diminish the other. In fact, research shows that practicing gratitude during tough times can actually make those times feel more bearable. It rewires your brain to focus on positive experiences, building resilience and fostering hope. To understand why gratitude is so powerful, consider this analogy. Imagine carrying two buckets, one filled with water, representing stress, and the other empty, representing gratitude. If you only carry the heavy bucket, you'll quickly become exhausted. But if you fill the second bucket with moments of appreciation, no matter how small, the weight becomes easier to manage. Gratitude doesn't eliminate stress, but it balances it, creating space for joy and meaning to emerge. Now let's delve into the science behind gratitude. Studies conducted by psychologists like Robert Emmons and Martin Seligman have shown that people who regularly practice gratitude experience numerous benefits. They report higher levels of happiness, lower rates of depression, stronger immune systems, and improved sleep quality. Gratitude also strengthens relationships, boosts self-esteem, and enhances overall well-being. Why? Because gratitude connects us to ourselves, to others, and to the world around us. It reminds us that we're part of something larger than our individual struggles. But here's the catch: gratitude requires intention and doesn't happen automatically, particularly during challenging periods. Our brains are wired to prioritize threats and negatives, a survival mechanism designed to keep us safe. This negativity bias means we're naturally more attuned to problems than blessings. However, by consciously choosing to seek out positives, we can counteract this tendency and retrain our minds to notice abundance. So, how do you cultivate gratitude when life feels overwhelming? Start with small, manageable steps. One of the simplest practices is keeping a gratitude journal. Each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be monumental achievements or extraordinary events. They can be as ordinary as a warm cup of tea, a kind word from a stranger, or the sound of birds chirping outside your window. The key is consistency. Over time, this habit trains your brain to scan for positives, even on tough days. If journaling feels daunting, try incorporating gratitude into your conversations. At dinner, ask family members or roommates to share one thing they appreciated that day. During meetings, take a moment to acknowledge someone's efforts or contributions. These small acts of recognition not only deepen connections but also reinforce a culture of appreciation. Another effective technique is reframing challenges through the lens of gratitude. For example, imagine losing your job, a situation that might initially evoke fear or frustration. While it's valid to feel upset, you can also look for silver linings. Perhaps the loss gives you an opportunity to explore new career paths, spend more time with loved ones, or develop skills you've been neglecting. Reframing doesn't mean dismissing reality, it means finding value within it. Let me share a personal story that illustrates this process. A few years ago, I went through a period of intense uncertainty. My freelance business was struggling, bills were piling up, and I felt stuck in a rut. Every morning, I woke up dreading the day ahead. Then, on a whim, I decided to start a gratitude ritual. Each night, before bed, I wrote down one thing I was thankful for, even if it seemed trivial. Some nights, it was as basic as, I'm grateful for clean water. Other nights, it was deeper, like, I'm grateful for my friend who called today just to check in. At first, I doubted whether this practice would make any difference, but over weeks and months, I noticed a subtle shift. I began looking forward to identifying moments of gratitude, no matter how small. I started noticing beauty in unexpected places, the way sunlight filtered through leaves, the kindness of a cashier, the laughter of children playing nearby. These tiny sparks of joy didn't erase my challenges, but they gave me strength to face them. Eventually, I realized that gratitude wasn't just a tool for coping, it was a pathway to thriving. Stories like mine aren't unique. Countless individuals have discovered the transformative power of gratitude in their own lives. Take Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, who wrote about finding meaning in unimaginable suffering. Despite enduring unimaginable horrors in concentration camps, Frankl chose to focus on what remained intact: his love for his wife, his sense of purpose, and his ability to help others. His story underscores a profound truth. Gratitude isn't dependent on external circumstances. It's a choice, an act of courage and defiance against despair. Of course, cultivating gratitude doesn't mean ignoring systemic injustices or toxic environments. If you're dealing with abuse, discrimination, or poverty, it's crucial to address these issues directly. Gratitude shouldn't be used as a band-aid solution to systemic problems. However, it can serve as a source of inner strength, reminding you of your inherent worth and capacity to create change. In creative fields, gratitude often inspires innovation and collaboration. Artists, writers, and musicians frequently cite gratitude as a driving force behind their work. By appreciating the tools, mentors, and opportunities that support their craft, they tap into a sense of abundance that fuels creativity. Similarly, entrepreneurs who express gratitude toward their teams and customers build loyalty and trust, laying the foundation for long-term success. Even in highly competitive environments, gratitude fosters excellence. Athletes who thank their coaches, teammates, and opponents perform better because they stay grounded and focused. Scientists who acknowledge their predecessors' contributions accelerate discovery by standing on the shoulders of giants. Gratitude amplifies potential, turning competition into collaboration and scarcity into abundance. As we move forward, I encourage you to experiment with gratitude in your own life. Start small. Notice the texture of your clothing against your skin, the flavor of your favorite snack, the rhythm of your breath. Share your appreciation with others, whether through words, gestures, or acts of kindness. And remember, gratitude isn't about perfection. Some days you might struggle to find anything to be thankful for, and that's okay. Simply showing up and trying counts as progress. Finally, let's talk about the ripple effects of gratitude. When you practice gratitude consistently, it not only transforms your own life, but also impacts those around you. Expressing thanks creates a feedback loop of positivity, encouraging others to do the same. Imagine a workplace where colleagues regularly acknowledge each other's efforts, or a family where members express love and appreciation freely. These environments foster connection, trust, and mutual support, making everyone feel valued and empowered. In a world that often feels chaotic and divided, gratitude offers a path forward, a way to reconnect with ourselves, each other, and the planet. It reminds us that despite our differences, we all share common needs for safety, belonging, and purpose. By cultivating gratitude, we contribute to a collective shift toward compassion, understanding, and peace. Chapter 8. Embracing uncertainty. Uncertainty is one of the most universal and challenging aspects of life. From the moment we're born, we step into a world that's unpredictable, ever-changing, and often beyond our control. Yet despite its inevitability, uncertainty terrifies us. It triggers fear, anxiety, and resistance because it forces us to confront the unknown, a space where anything can happen, good or bad. But what if I told you that uncertainty isn't something to dread? What if instead it's a gateway to possibility, a source of freedom, creativity, and growth? Today we're going to explore how embracing uncertainty can transform your relationship with life, helping you navigate challenges with greater ease and openness. Let's begin by acknowledging why uncertainty feels so unsettling. Evolutionarily speaking, humans are wired to seek safety and predictability. Our ancestors relied on patterns, seasonal changes, animal migrations, and social hierarchies to survive. When faced with ambiguity, their brains went into high alert, scanning for threats and preparing for action. While this survival mechanism served them well in a dangerous world, it leaves modern humans ill-equipped to handle the complexities of contemporary life. In an age of rapid technological advancement, shifting societal norms, and global interconnectedness, uncertainty has become a constant companion, and yet we still react to it as though it's inherently threatening. The irony is that resisting uncertainty only amplifies its impact. When we cling to certainty, demanding guarantees, obsessing over outcomes, or trying to micromanage every detail, we create unnecessary suffering. Life doesn't conform to rigid plans, it unfolds in its own time and manner. By refusing to accept this reality, we set ourselves up for frustration and disappointment. Consider the example of planning a trip. You meticulously organize every aspect, the flights, accommodations, itinerary. But when weather delays disrupt your schedule, you feel angry and defeated. Now imagine approaching the same situation differently. Instead of fixating on the disruption, you adapt. You use the extra time to explore a local cafe or strike up a conversation with fellow travelers. Suddenly, the unplanned detour becomes an enriching experience rather than a source of stress. This principle applies to virtually every area of life, whether it's career transitions, health concerns, relationships, or personal growth. Uncertainty is both inevitable and transformative. It's the fertile ground where new opportunities arise, unexpected connections form, and hidden strengths emerge. Think about some of history's greatest innovations. Many were born out of uncertainty, moments when individuals dared to step into the unknown, trusting that they'd find solutions along the way. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His willingness to embrace experimentation and ambiguity paved the way for groundbreaking discoveries. Now let's talk about how to cultivate a mindset of embracing uncertainty. One powerful framework comes from the Japanese concept of mushin, or no mind. Rooted in Zen Buddhism, mushin describes a state of mental clarity and flexibility, an ability to respond intuitively and without attachment to preconceived notions. Practicing mushin involves letting go of rigid expectations and staying present in the moment. It allows you to flow with life's changes rather than fighting against them. Another helpful tool is mindfulness. By training yourself to stay grounded in the here and now, you reduce the tendency to ruminate about the future or dwell on worst-case scenarios. Mindfulness teaches you to observe uncertainty with curiosity and compassion, recognizing it as part of the human experience. For instance, if you're feeling anxious about an upcoming decision, bring your attention back to your breath. Notice the sensation of air moving in and out of your body. Remind yourself that while you can't control the outcome, you can control how you respond to it. This simple act of presence creates space for calm and clarity to emerge. Let me share a story that illustrates the power of embracing uncertainty. A few years ago, I found myself at a crossroads in my career. After working in a stable but unfulfilling job for nearly a decade, I began questioning whether I should pursue a passion project I'd been dreaming about for years. The idea excited me, but it also terrified me. What if I failed? What if I couldn't make ends meet? What if people judged me for taking a risk? For months, I vacillated between excitement and fear, unable to commit either way. Eventually, I realized that my indecision stemmed from a desire for certainty, a need to know exactly how things would turn out before taking action. Once I acknowledged this pattern, I made a conscious choice to embrace the unknown. I reminded myself that failure wasn't fatal, it was feedback. I broke my goal into small, manageable steps, focusing on progress rather than perfection. And slowly but surely, I began to see results. Not everything worked out as planned, but each setback taught me valuable lessons and opened doors I never anticipated. Looking back, I realized that embracing uncertainty didn't eliminate fear. It gave me the courage to move forward anyway. Stories like mine aren't rare. Countless individuals have discovered that leaning into uncertainty unlocks hidden potential. Take J.K. Rowling, for example. Before becoming one of the world's most successful authors, she faced rejection after rejection from publishers. Yet she persisted, trusting that her story deserved to be told. Or consider Malala Yousafzai, who defied immense danger to advocate for girls' education. Both women embraced uncertainty, not because they were fearless, but because they believed deeply in their purpose. Of course, embracing uncertainty doesn't mean abandoning caution or ignoring risks. It means balancing preparation with flexibility, allowing yourself to pivot when necessary. Imagine starting a business. You might conduct market research, develop a solid plan, and secure funding, but you must also remain adaptable, ready to adjust based on customer feedback or economic shifts. Similarly, in relationships, embracing uncertainty requires trust and communication. It means accepting that no partnership is immune to challenges, but that these challenges can strengthen bonds if approached with openness and empathy. In creative fields, uncertainty fuels innovation. Artists, writers, and musicians often describe their process as a dance with the unknown. They don't wait for inspiration to strike perfectly. They show up, experiment, and refine along the way. Picasso once said, "Every act of creation is first an act of destruction." By dismantling old ideas and embracing ambiguity, creators push boundaries and redefine what's possible. Even in highly structured environments such as science or engineering, uncertainty has its place. Researchers routinely encounter unexpected findings that challenge their hypotheses. Rather than viewing these surprises as failures, they see them as opportunities to deepen understanding. This mindset fosters breakthroughs that might otherwise remain undiscovered. As we move forward, I encourage you to reflect on your relationship with uncertainty. Where do you feel resistance? Are you afraid of making mistakes, losing control, or facing judgment? Ask yourself, what would happen if I leaned into the unknown even just a little? How might uncertainty reveal possibilities I haven't considered? One practical exercise is to practice saying yes to small uncertainties. Try taking a different route to work, ordering a dish you've never tasted, or striking up a conversation with someone new. These tiny acts of bravery build confidence and remind you that uncertainty isn't inherently dangerous. It's simply unfamiliar. Finally, remember that uncertainty isn't permanent. Just as clouds drift across the sky, moments of doubt and confusion pass with time. Trust that you have the resilience to navigate whatever comes your way. As the poet Rumi wrote, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." Uncertainty may feel like a wound at times, but it's also an opening, a chance to grow, learn, and connect more deeply with yourself and the world. Chapter 9. Simplifying your life. Simplicity is one of the most profound yet overlooked paths to happiness and peace. In a world that glorifies busyness, consumption, and constant stimulation, simplifying your life can feel revolutionary. It's about stripping away the unnecessary, whether it's physical clutter, mental noise, or overwhelming commitments, and focusing on what truly matters. Today we're going to explore why simplicity is so powerful, how it benefits your well-being, and practical steps you can take to simplify every aspect of your life. Let's start with a fundamental question. Why do we accumulate so much, whether it's possessions, responsibilities, or distractions? Our tendency to overcomplicate often stems from cultural conditioning. We're taught that success means having more money, more achievements, more stuff. Advertising bombards us with messages suggesting that happiness lies in acquiring the latest gadgets, fashion trends, or luxury experiences. Social media amplifies this pressure, showcasing curated highlight reels that make us feel inadequate unless we keep up. But here's the truth. More isn't better, it's often just more. The endless pursuit of enough leaves us exhausted, overwhelmed, and disconnected from what truly enriches our lives. Studies show that material wealth beyond a certain point has diminishing returns for happiness. What brings lasting fulfillment isn't accumulation, it's connection, purpose, and presence. Simplifying your life allows you to reclaim these essentials, creating space for joy and meaning to flourish. To understand why simplicity works, let's examine its psychological benefits. Research shows that decluttering your environment reduces stress and increases focus. When your surroundings are organized and intentional, your mind feels calmer and more capable of concentrating on tasks. Similarly, simplifying your schedule frees up time and energy, enabling you to invest in activities that align with your values rather than obligations. This shift not only boosts productivity, but also enhances overall well-being. Now let's break down how to simplify your life into 3 key areas: your physical space, your mental landscape, and your daily routines. Each area offers unique opportunities for transformation, and together they create a holistic approach to living with less. Simplifying your physical space. The first step towards simplification is decluttering. Start small, perhaps a drawer, a closet, or a single shelf. As you sort through items, ask yourself, does this add value to my life? Have I used it in the past year? Would I buy it again today? Be ruthless, but compassionate. It's okay to let go of things that no longer serve you. Donate unused clothing, recycle old papers, and toss expired products. With each item you release, you'll feel lighter and freer. Once you've cleared out the excess, organize what remains intentionally. Use storage solutions like bins, baskets, or labels to maintain order. Keep surfaces clean and uncluttered, reserving them for essentials or objects that bring you joy. A minimalist aesthetic doesn't mean stark emptiness. It means surrounding yourself with items that resonate deeply with who you are and how you want to live. For inspiration, look to movements like Marie Kondo's KonMari method, which encourages keeping only those things that spark joy. Or consider digital minimalism, which involves organizing files, unsubscribing from unnecessary emails, and limiting screen time. By streamlining both your physical and virtual spaces, you create an environment that supports clarity and calm, simplifying your mental landscape. Just as physical clutter overwhelms your senses, mental clutter clouds your thinking. To simplify your mind, begin by identifying sources of unnecessary complexity. Are you multitasking excessively? Consuming too much news or social media? Ruminating over past decisions or future worries? Once you pinpoint these patterns, take steps to address them. One effective strategy is practicing mindfulness. By staying present, you reduce the mental chatter that distracts you from the moment. Meditation, journaling, or simply taking deep breaths throughout the day can help quiet your inner critic and sharpen your focus. Another technique is setting boundaries around information intake. Limit exposure to negative or overwhelming content, and prioritize activities that nourish your spirit, such as reading, walking in nature, or engaging in creative hobbies. Additionally, adopt a mindset of good enough. Perfectionism often complicates life unnecessarily, leading to procrastination and dissatisfaction. Instead of striving for flawless outcomes, aim for progress and authenticity. Celebrate small wins, forgive mistakes, and trust that imperfection is part of the human experience. Simplifying your daily routines. Finally, examine your daily habits and commitments. How many of them are truly necessary? Which ones drain your energy without providing meaningful return? Simplifying your routines involves prioritizing what adds value and eliminating what doesn't. Start by evaluating your calendar. Block off time for rest, reflection, and self-care, treating these activities as non-negotiable appointments. Learn to say no to invitations or tasks that don't align with your priorities. Remember, saying no to one thing creates space to say yes to something else, something that truly matters. Streamline everyday processes by establishing systems and routines. For example, plan meals ahead of time to avoid last-minute decision-making. Create a capsule wardrobe to simplify getting dressed. Automate bill payments and subscriptions to reduce administrative burdens. These small adjustments may seem insignificant individually, but collectively, they save immense amounts of time and mental energy. Let me share a personal story that highlights the transformative power of simplification. A few years ago, I found myself drowning in obligations, work projects, social engagements, household chores. My home was cluttered, my mind was scattered, and my schedule was packed to the brim. Despite outward appearances of productivity, I felt perpetually drained and disconnected. Determined to regain control, I embarked on a journey of simplification. I started by decluttering my apartment room by room. As I sorted through piles of belongings, I realized how much I'd been holding on to out of guilt, nostalgia, or fear of scarcity. Letting go of these items felt liberating, like shedding layers of weight I hadn't even noticed I was carrying. Next, I simplified my routines. I stopped trying to do everything at once and instead focused on one task at a time. I limited my wardrobe to versatile pieces that mixed and matched easily. I meal prepped on Sundays to eliminate weekday stress. And perhaps most importantly, I began protecting my downtime, carving out evenings for reading, meditation, or simply sitting quietly. Over time, these changes compounded. My home became a sanctuary, my mind grew calmer, and my days flowed more smoothly. I discovered that simplicity wasn't about deprivation, it was about freedom. Freedom to breathe, to create, to connect. Stories like mine remind us that simplification isn't a one-time event, it's an ongoing practice. Life naturally tends toward complexity, so regular maintenance is essential. Periodically reassess your possessions, habits, and commitments, asking yourself whether they still serve your highest good. If not, be willing to let them go. In relationships, simplicity fosters deeper connections. By focusing on quality over quantity, you nurture bonds that truly matter. Spend uninterrupted time with loved ones, listening actively and sharing authentically. Avoid overcommitting to social events out of obligation. Instead, invest in moments that strengthen mutual understanding and trust. Even in work, simplicity drives excellence. Streamlining workflows, delegating tasks, and setting clear goals enable you to accomplish more with less effort. Leaders who embrace simplicity inspire teams to innovate and collaborate effectively, fostering environments where creativity thrives. As we conclude this chapter, I invite you to reflect on one final question. What would it feel like to live with less and gain more? Less clutter, less noise, less pressure, and more peace, more presence, more purpose. Simplification isn't about achieving perfection, it's about aligning your life with what truly matters. Chapter 10. Bringing it all together. We've covered a lot of ground in this journey together, from exploring the paradox of nothing matters to embracing imperfection, uncertainty, simplicity, and gratitude. Each chapter has offered tools, insights, and practices designed to help you live with greater ease, clarity, and authenticity. But now, as we reach the final chapter, it's time to bring it all together. How do these principles work in harmony? And how can you integrate them into your daily life in a way that feels sustainable, meaningful, and transformative? Today we're going to tie everything up, not by prescribing rigid rules, but by offering a flexible framework for living fully while remaining unshaken by life's inevitable storms. Let's start by acknowledging that no single principle exists in isolation. Mindfulness, meditation, acceptance, gratitude, and simplicity aren't separate entities. They're interconnected threads woven into the fabric of a balanced life. For example, mindfulness supports meditation, which fosters acceptance, which deepens gratitude, which inspires simplicity. Together, they create a feedback loop of positivity, resilience, and growth. Understanding their interplay allows you to approach challenges holistically, drawing on whichever tool feels most relevant in the moment. Take a common scenario. You wake up feeling overwhelmed by a packed schedule. Instead of diving headfirst into tasks, pause for a few moments of mindfulness. Bring your attention to your breath, noticing its rhythm and calming effect. From this place of presence, ask yourself, what truly needs to happen today? Can I simplify my to-do list? Focusing only on what adds value. As you move through the day, practice acceptance when things don't go as planned, whether it's traffic delays, missed deadlines, or unexpected interruptions. Remind yourself that resistance only amplifies stress. Acceptance creates space for thoughtful responses. Along the way, cultivate gratitude by noticing small joys, a kind word from a colleague, a warm cup of coffee, or the beauty of sunlight streaming through a window. Finally, end your day with reflection, celebrating progress and releasing anything that no longer serves you. This integrated approach doesn't require perfection. In fact, it thrives on flexibility. Some days you might lean heavily on mindfulness and meditation to navigate turbulence. Other days, gratitude and simplicity might take center stage. The key is staying attuned to your needs and responding with compassion rather than judgment. Now, let's talk about why bringing it all together matters. Life is inherently complex, messy, and unpredictable. No amount of planning can shield us from hardship or guarantee smooth sailing. But when we combine these practices, we build a foundation of resilience that helps us weather whatever comes our way. We learn to hold contradictions lightly, to embrace both joy and sorrow, success and failure, certainty and uncertainty as natural parts of the human experience. This balance enables us to show up fully, not just for ourselves, but also for those around us. To illustrate this integration, let me share a story. A few years ago, I faced one of the most challenging periods of my life. My health took a sudden downturn, forcing me to step back from work and reevaluate my priorities. Initially, I felt angry and defeated, questioning why this was happening to me. But over time, I turned to the principles we've discussed throughout this video. Mindfulness became my anchor, helping me stay present despite physical discomfort. Meditation taught me to observe my thoughts without attaching to them, reducing anxiety and frustration. Acceptance allowed me to acknowledge reality as it was, not as I wished it to be, freeing me from resistance and self-pity. Gratitude opened my eyes to the support system surrounding me. Friends who brought meals, family members who listened patiently, and healthcare professionals who guided my recovery. Simplicity gave me permission to let go of unnecessary commitments, focusing instead on healing and rest. Individually, each practice provided relief. Collectively, they transformed my perspective. What began as a period of struggle evolved into an opportunity for profound growth. I emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected to myself and others. Stories like mine highlight the power of integration. When life feels overwhelming, remember that you don't need to tackle everything at once. Start small. One mindful breath, one act of gratitude, one moment of acceptance, and build from there. Over time, these tiny shifts compound, creating lasting change. Another benefit of integrating these principles is their ripple effect. When you embody mindfulness, acceptance, and gratitude, you inspire others to do the same. Imagine walking into a room radiating calm and presence. Your energy influences those around you, fostering connection and understanding. Similarly, when you express appreciation openly, you encourage reciprocity, strengthening relationships and communities. Even acts of simplification have broader impacts. Decluttering your home reduces waste, prioritizing rest combats burnout culture, and embracing imperfection normalizes vulnerability. In creative fields, integration fuels innovation. Artists who practice mindfulness often describe heightened sensory awareness, enabling them to capture nuances in color, texture, and emotion. Writers who embrace uncertainty produce richer narratives, exploring themes of ambiguity and transformation. Musicians who cultivate gratitude infuse their compositions with warmth and depth, resonating deeply with audiences. These examples demonstrate how blending multiple practices amplifies creativity and expression. Even in highly structured environments such as science or business, integration drives excellence. Researchers who combine curiosity with acceptance remain open to unexpected findings, accelerating discovery. Entrepreneurs who prioritize simplicity and gratitude foster cultures of collaboration and loyalty, laying the groundwork for long-term success. Leaders who model mindfulness and empathy inspire teams to innovate and adapt effectively. As we reflect on this journey, I want to emphasize one final point. Integration isn't about achieving mastery, it's about practicing consistently. There will be days when old habits resurface, and that's okay. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Every step you take toward mindfulness, acceptance, gratitude, and simplicity brings you closer to freedom. So as we wrap up this chapter and this entire video, I invite you to commit to one action today. Perhaps it's setting aside 5 minutes for meditation, writing down 3 things you're grateful for, or decluttering a single drawer. Whatever you choose, trust that even small efforts contribute to big changes over time. Remember, the philosophy of acting as if nothing matters isn't about indifference, it's about liberation. By letting go of attachment to outcomes, expectations, and fears, you free yourself to engage deeply with life. You create space to savor moments, nurture relationships, and pursue passions authentically. Paradoxically, caring less about external validation allows you to care more about what truly enriches your existence. Finally, carry this mindset forward, not as a destination, but as a lifelong practice. Life will continue throwing curveballs, testing your resolve and challenging your patience, but armed with these tools, you'll face each obstacle with courage and grace. You'll discover that peace isn't found in external achievements or possessions. It's already within you, waiting to be uncovered. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of mindfulness, acceptance, and simplicity. May these principles guide you toward greater ease, joy, and fulfillment in every aspect of your life. Thank you for taking this hour to join me on this journey, a journey toward greater peace, clarity, and freedom. If there's one thing I hope you take away from today's video, it's this. Acting as if nothing matters isn't about giving up or becoming indifferent. It's about embracing life fully while remaining unshaken by its inevitable ups and downs. It's about finding balance between caring deeply and holding lightly, trusting that no matter what happens, you'll still be okay. Throughout this video, we've explored 10 chapters filled with wisdom from Buddhism, meditation, mindfulness, and modern psychology. We've talked about the paradox of letting go, the roots of non-attachment, the power of mindfulness, and so much more. Each chapter offered tools and insights designed to help you navigate stress, uncertainty, and challenges with greater ease. But remember, these aren't abstract concepts. They're practices meant to be lived day by day, moment by moment. As you move forward, I encourage you to start small. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. Begin with one practice, one mindful breath, one act of gratitude, one step towards simplifying your space, and build from there. Over time, these tiny shifts will compound, creating profound changes in how you experience life. And please be gentle with yourself along the way. Transformation isn't linear, it's messy, imperfect, and deeply human. There will be days when old habits creep back in, and that's okay. What matters isn't perfection, it's persistence. Every effort counts, no matter how small it may seem. Before we part ways, I want to leave you with a thought to carry with you. Life is fleeting, unpredictable, and beautifully complex. While we can't control everything that happens to us, we can choose how we respond. By practicing mindfulness, acceptance, gratitude, and simplicity, you empower yourself to meet each moment with presence, courage, and compassion. And in doing so, you unlock a reservoir of peace that's always available, no matter what's happening around you. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love for you to share it with someone who might benefit from its message. Whether it's a friend navigating a tough time, a family member seeking clarity, or a colleague looking to reduce stress, these ideas have the potential to touch lives far beyond this screen. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you haven't already. I'll be sharing more content like this right here on the Mindful Zone. Lastly, I want to thank you. Your presence here means the world to me. Knowing that these teachings resonate with even one person reminds me why I do what I do. Together we're creating a community rooted in kindness, curiosity, and growth. A space where everyone is welcome to explore, learn, and heal. As we close this chapter, take a deep breath and let it out slowly. Feel the weight lifting, even just a little. Trust that you carry within you everything you need to face whatever comes next. Until we meet again, take care of yourself and keep shining your light. Goodbye for now. Namaste.